Alright guys, good afternoon, welcome to another TA update. Today is the 2nd of September 2022. It's just gone 12:30 here in the UK. So I'm just going to do the usual checks, make sure that the audio and video are working. Yeah, everything seems to be working okay, so I'll just crack on. So start here with the heat map on the stock market. Everything's kind of a mixed bag, you know, there's a lot in the red, there's a lot in the green, and some in neutral, so nothing really special. I think everybody's waiting for the non-farm payroll, NFP figures coming out in about an hour, so that's what I'm trying to anticipate, and doing this an hour before to give you guys some idea of what I'm looking for. On the cryptocurrency heat map, great majority of it is in the red, some of it is in the neutral. Ethereum still looking stronger than Bitcoin, we'll get to that in just a second. But yeah, again, mixed bag, and just a few that are up. But yeah, so straight onto the calendar. Today at 1:30 p.m, this is about an hour's time, we're going to have the non-farm employment change and the unemployment rate, and also the average hourly earnings. Well, you know, the NFP is basically the one that you want to look out for, and as all these figures come out in about an hour, it will create some volatility in the market, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens. What happened last month, obviously the figures were very positive, and as a result of that the market's pumped. So yeah, I think that's something that we have to look out for, and if I was you, I would either reduce risk or manage your risk, or perhaps even close all your positions and wait for the whole thing to play out and then just see where we are right now. So let's get straight onto the charts and try and give you a little bit of context of what I'm looking for. We start here with the S&P. Now with the S&P, I'll start here with the weekly. As you can see, and I had been saying this for quite some time, I was expecting this level here to hold. I'm going to change that to yellow so that you guys can see it better. So I was expecting that level to hold. It had confluence with this low volume node just below 4,100 points, right? And I was expecting this whole volume cluster to be where we would be rotational from, and of course going down to the bottom we would find a bounce and then find ourselves rotational back inside. Well, that wasn't to happen. We didn't bounce there, and we went straight down to the next level, which I had said, which is the 2021 value area low, and that's exactly where we bounced from, right? This is this little point of control here of this other balance, right? So there's a different balance area. Now what is now to be seen, and to sort of wait and see if it plays out, is if basically, have we been accepted inside of this volume cluster? If so, now we will find resistance above 4,000 points. Okay, so if we get, for example, all the way up to here and then find that this is resistance and it starts curling down, then you know that basically we're being rejected from the upper balance, and basically finding acceptance inside of this. And if that's the case, we're going to head much lower, and I believe that first of all we'll go to this point here around about 3,800 3,900 points, but eventually with this tapering volume, as you can see here, let me just delete all of these drawings. As you can see here, this is tapering volume down. Price will accelerate very quickly, just like it did here, to print new lows. Okay, and you can also see here that this is the previous level where we bounced from, which is the 2020 value area high. This is the 2020 VWAP close, this is the value area low, and this is basically where we bounced from, right? Which has perfect confluence with this low volume node. Okay, so I do think that I've put a second standard deviation, as you can see here, right? I've put a second standard deviation to these VWAPs because we're starting to get out of balance here, and you can see that they were fairly accurate going forward. So now what remains to be seen is, are we accepted inside of this one here, meaning will we get rejected at around about 4,070 points, or will we actually get accepted back inside that previous value, right, which is the 2022 value area low here? And if we get accepted back inside of there, that means that we're almost certainly going to travel to the other side of the balance, which is to the yearly VWAP, to the previous highs, right? So this was really the line in the sand here, guys, and I'm talking about this level here previous level of resistance, you know, now it's acting as support for now. But the tricky thing is it's already inside this volume cluster, and as such we could have problems trying to get back out of it again. Okay, so that's basically what we're looking at. This is on the higher time frame, on the weekly chart, of course, so we'll just have to wait and see. So the key level is really about 4,070 points for resistance. If we get above that, then it's blue skies ahead and we go up back into 2022 value, which is basically this area here. If, however, we find that there is resistance, like I said, we'll end up going all the way down here again eventually. Okay, it might not happen in a day, it might not happen in a week, it could take a long time. This is a weekly chart, of course, this one here. So it's a weekly chart with the yearly VWAP, so this could take a long time to play out. Okay, the key element thing is that, you know, looking at this here, this was a previous high. We broke above those highs with this one, right? So we broke market structure, and so far on the weekly chart we haven't printed a lower low. So this is a higher high. Let's see if this is a higher low, and if that's the case, we'll resume and go back up. All right, so we'll just have to wait and see. Of course, like I said, there's the invalidation of that is us not being able to get above this low volume node here at 4,070 points, and if that's the case, we're heading much lower and we're going to 3,600 points, almost for sure, right? It might take a week, it might take a month, but almost for sure. Regarding, let me just change the color of this yet again, I'm going to put it back to white. Regarding the 12-hour chart here on the quarterly VWAP, you can see that we're below the quarterly here, and we haven't really tested it yet. So, you know, what tends to happen is then when we lose that quarterly VWAP, and we retest it again, basically, like for example here, we lost that quarterly VWAP here, right? So on that VWAP reset, we lost it, and then we tested it once, we tested it twice, 3 times, 4 or 5 times here, and we still, you know, there's plenty of resistance there. So, you know, I'm not sort of like betting on us going up just yet, but you know, as you can see, the quarterly VWAP has been historically very well respected, right? If you look back historically, you can see here, admittedly this is just reset, so there's not much value to that because it's a brand new VWAP, but you can see here it was respected, right? And as soon as we lost it, it was respected here as resistance. Here we broke above it, but then of course we lost it at the reset, and we broke below it again and again, and like I said, reset, and basically every time that we get a retest, we tend to go down. So don't bet on us going up, you just have to wait and see how it plays out. And that quarterly VWAP is sitting at around about 4,000 points, so very, very convenient that it's so close to the 4,000 points, 4,070 points that we're looking for on the weekly. Here on the monthly VWAP, which is a 4-hour chart, you can see that basically it looks like we got accepted inside of this value here, which is basically the July value, right? So we lost that level there. Even though we're above the monthly VWAP, we're struggling to get above this, right? So it does look like we're rotational inside of this one. So if that's the case, and we cannot get back above 4,100 points, which is, or 4,070 points, like I said, which would be this level here, which is last month's value, right? Even if we do go all the way up here, right, this could potentially be a great entry for a short, and again targeting this level here and potentially even lower down to this level here. Of course, we break above this 4,068, 4,070 points, and all the stars are aligned basically on the monthly, the quarterly, and the yearly VWAP. All right, so if I'm just trying to build a narrative here just to see how these key levels play out, right? On the weekly VWAP, which is the one that I use the most, of course, you can see that we're below the weekly VWAP as well, right? So, but we are inside this week's value. So if we break above this weekly VWAP, right, and indeed we go all the way up to the second standard deviation, right, which you see is being respected here quite a few times, right, both on the upside and on the low side, right? Look at this here. Second standard deviations are playing out very, very well. And of course, if that goes to the second standard deviation, the +2 here, that's sitting at around about 4,080 points. So again, that's a contentious level because it all aligns up on the higher time frames, right? You know, with the yearly view up, the quarterly, the monthly, and the weekly. All right. So on the lower time frames, I'm not really interested in long positions. I'm more interested in seeking a short and then just seeing what happens if we can make above 4,080 points. Right, so that's the context that we've got looking at the S&P, and you know that it's correlated closely with Bitcoin. So, you know, if even if we do go up a little bit, then we're gonna have that contentious point right about, but you know, just somewhere between 4,050, 4,070 points, and if we can get above that, then yes, it's blue skies ahead, and we're going long on everything. But again, even if we do go up a little bit, it's very likely that actually at this point here, which I'm going to put it on the on all the charts, at this point here, we're going to find ourselves in a little bit of spot bother, right? Which is basically the previous quarter view up close, right? It's the weekly value area high plus 1 standard deviation, so it's the +2. And it's also very close to the last month's value area low and this year's value area low. So, you know, it all kind of lines up with that low volume node. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. And yeah, and keep an eye on that, right? So basically, if we can get above 4,080 points, we're good. But over there is really a really decent point for a short, okay? So that's basically what I see on the S&P. So moving on to Bitcoin. Let's start with a top-down approach. You can see here that basically, let's have a look at the on the weekly chart. You can see that this is the 2020 value area high, and this is the 2020 view up close here with a circle. This is the value area low, and you can see that basically the value area high here, somewhere like that, right? In fact, let me just do a little line. It'd probably be better to do a trend line, right? If I put that line there, you can see that we're now below it again, okay? If we get accepted back inside of this value, then I believe that we're going to end up going a little bit lower down there, especially if the S&P cannot get above that level, right? So if S&P goes back to 3,600 points, I expect Bitcoin to end up round about $14,000, $15,000, all right, if the correlation is to continue. So that's where we are on the weekly. If we look at the quarterly view up here, you can see that we're struggling to get above the current quarter's value area low, okay? So we're outside of value. We're basically kind of like just overextended, yes, but we're definitely below this quarterly value, right? So that's significant. And we retested it already, and we got rejected there, right? So let me put this on a 12-hour. You guys can see that we've tested this a number of times here, and it got rejected here quite a few times. All right, so on the 4-hour chart here with the monthly view up, you can see that now we are above the current month's view up because this reset kind of a couple of days ago, right? It reset on the 1st of September. So as it reset, it comes all the way back down to price, and now we find ourselves above it. So there's energy in this because it's recent, right? We've recently just stepped above this month's view up. However, because it's recent, I don't pay that much attention to it. What I do pay attention to is this value here, right, which is the July view up area, right? And the reason for that is because it was acting as support here at the value area high. Once we've lost it, we got below that view up close, the July view up close, and then we could not get back above it, as you can see here, right? So we're basically rotational inside of this value, and now we've come to the bottom. So the key element of that is that, are we going to reclaim that? At the moment, it does look like we've just reclaimed it, right? We've been kind of like hovering below, go above, above, below, below, above, and so on, right? But now we've also got the monthly view up holding us there. So this could potentially sort of help us move up, right? And if it moves up, the next area of contention will be around about 21k, which is the previous month's value area low. Okay, so the month of August. Okay, so I'm trying to build a picture here for you guys so that you guys understand where I'm coming from, right? So 21k is a contention point if we are to go up. Let me just delete that drawing there. So, and then on the weekly, I've got a second standard deviation on this one because again, it's been working really, really well. As you can see here, we're rotational. We bounced on the value area low, sorry, on the -2. We bounced on the +2, and we just rotational inside that second standard deviation there, right? And on the VWAPs, of course, right? Once we lost that VWAP, we bounced on the value area low here. We went all the way up. Where did we get stopped? At the +2 standard deviation, all the way back down again. And then we've been kind of bouncing here up until the reset. We've been bouncing on that second standard deviation to the low side. Okay, here we got above the VWAP. We couldn't get above previous value. Had confluence with the +2 standard deviation, came back down. Where did it bounce? -2 standard deviation, right? And then here, this value here has been instrumental. Okay, that's basically resistance right there, right? But we are again above, we're rotational inside of this value, but we are above the weekly as well. So we're above the weekly VWAP, which is significant. We're above the weekly and the monthly VWAPs, right? So again, even if we come all the way back down here to 19,800, okay, there's a possibility that we could bounce here and go straight back up again, right? So if that's the case, let me just delete that. If that's the case, and we get acceptance above this level here, which is the previous week value area low here, right? So basically acceptance above 20,400. The next level would be, we're inside of this value, the next contention level would be this level here, which is sitting again at around about 21k. So 21k as confluence with the monthly and the weekly, right? But there's one thing here, it's basically this here, right? They're not pull lows. I've just checked on the market profile. They're definitely, they've got excess, but there's a triple bottom there. Can you imagine how many stops there are below that, right? So there's plenty of liquidity there. There's just, I don't believe that we're going anywhere, you know, back up significantly anyway, without taking this out. Okay, it's just, you know, so I would like to see something like this and then get back inside of the value and then definitely going long and aiming for those highs, right? But, you know, with the volatility coming today with the NFP, then we could potentially just see some volatility to the upside because we are above the weekly and the monthly VWAPs, and that's just recent, right? There's energy to that because it's like, you know, on the weekly not so much. We've not been respecting it. We're getting back and forth and back and forth. But as far as the monthly, we've literally just got above it. All right. So like I said, we've got contention points here. We've got the quarterly value area 20,300, right? So that's resistance until proven otherwise. But we've also got 21,000 as the previous value, the previous month value is going to be significant going forward, right? Okay, so 21k is the level that I'm looking for. And just, you know, just to illustrate that, I'm going to put a line there, 21k, right? So 21k, it's not, doesn't look like much on the top left here on the yearly, doesn't look like much here on the quarterly. However, if you look at the two bottom charts here on the monthly, sorry, let me just take this off again. So on the monthly and on the weekly, you can see that that level there has perfect confluence with this one here. So the value area low of the previous month is also the previous week VWAP close. All right, so 21k. So now we've got context, right? We know that we want to take these poor lows here. No, they're not poor lows, but the triple bottom here at 19,400, 19,500 or whatever. And so basically if we go down there, take out those stops and get back above, then I know that the target's going to be 21k, right? If we go to 21k first, then I know that that's a short, right? And I'll be targeting that triple bottom down there. So I hope this kind of makes sense to you guys. of where I'm looking for. So now I'm going to look for confirmation on Exocharts and just see where we are with a more granular sort of like with the levels in a more granular fashion, right? So let me just going to take this off for a second so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Right, so on the top right, I'm just going to highlight it here. I hope that's come out on the chart here. I hope you guys can see that. Yeah, I can see that. That's gone onto the live stream. That's good. So let me just adjust this so it doesn't become very confusing. Right. So what I've got here is composite profiles. Right. So I've got profiles that overlap the valley area, all merged together to give me a composite valley area. Right. So I'm looking at basically. Let me just adjust this a little bit, the color. So I'm looking at, God, that's a bit thick. Let me just make that a little bit thinner. Okay, so I'm looking at this level, these two composites there, right? The value area low and the value area high, and also where the price is here right now, and also these two levels here. Right, so I'm looking at these two composites, right? If we're still rotational inside of this one, right? If we go to the top here, I would be looking for shorts. But if we break above this $20,300, right, then I know that we're breaking out of a composite. We're in an imbalance basically, and we'll be heading up. And there's some single prints at around about $20,900, right? And 21K is the composite value area low of this profile here, right? So do you see how it starts building a picture? So I'm looking at this for resistance. So if we break above $20,300 convincingly, I believe that we're heading up to this level. So then I'll be interested in a long position, a long scalp, right? But if we go down to the bottom here, a composite value at 19,800, then I'll be sort of maybe looking to be rotational inside of this, right? And playing the rotation back to 20,300. But we're heading lower first, so I'll be more interested in taking these lows. So now you know where the two composites are. Let's just have a look at this in a more granular way without the profiles merged together. Okay, so I'll just make it like this so that you guys can see. So you can see that these are all the profiles that I've merged together, not this one or this one, because they're outside of the value area of the previous day. So it's just basically these profiles merged together, and I've got these profiles here merged together, right? So let's start with where we are right now, right? We are basically here, the price, right? And we're rotational inside of this composite, right? But we've got a naked value area low around about here, 19,834, which is basically very close to the composite value area low, right? And then we've got that triple bottom, right? But we've got excess. You can see that green there. That's basically, there's plenty of TPOs there. There's not a poor low as such, but there's definitely equal lows there, as you can see that with that line, right? So, you know, equal lows there. I think that this needs to get taken out, right? So if we head down here, let me just highlight this. All right, so let's say that we go down here first. I'm going to watch price very carefully because we could bounce here, right? We could definitely bounce here and continue to be rotational inside of this here, right? Targeting up here. However, like I said, I don't like this, the double bottom there. In fact, it's like a triple bottom because these are very, very close. So, you know, potentially we could be having a wick with the volatility way down here like this, take that out, and then we'll just have to wait and see. Will we come back up? And if we do, at 19,800, that's the contention level there, right? Will we accept back inside? If we accept back inside, I'll be targeting 21K. If, however, this finds like its rejection here, then I'll be targeting a short, and I'll be heading much lower, right? So this could also play out in a different way. This could also play out that it goes like this, tries to get back above this composite value area low, and it can't, right? So this is a short position, and I'll be targeting these pool lows here, right, and doing something like this. And then the other thing will still play out, which is basically when it goes back up, will we get rejected here or will we get accepted here, right? And that's basically the difference. If we get rejected, I'm heading lower. If it gets accepted back inside, then we're heading higher. All right, so I hope this kind of makes sense in a way of where we are right now, okay? And of course, I'll be looking at round about this level here, 20,300, because without the profiles merged, you can see how many inefficiencies or anomalies are above us, right? So we've got a naked point of control here, a VPOC. It's a volume naked point of control at $20,300. Break above this, and we've got a naked value area high here. We've got a naked value area high there. We've got a naked point of control there, and a naked value area low here. Additionally, we've got all these single prints starting at around about $20,800 all the way to 21K. And again, like I said, 21K is the composite value area low. So again, let me just, I know that's a lot to take in, but I'm going to try and simplify this. Let's say that the price of Bitcoin goes all the way up here, takes out this naked point of control, and then gets rejected here at the composite value area high, around about $20,300. That for me is a signal for a long, and I'll be targeting this level, this level, this level, this, and basically all of the single prints. Okay, just be aware that these single prints could act as resistance, right? We could head all the way up here, miss out completely the 21K, and then get rejected at the 20,900, which is where the single prints are. Okay, however, if we do accept and we take out all of the single prints there, right, we get rejected here, and then we kind of start hovering above and we do not fall back below, then I'm going to be a little bit more sort of like reluctant to take shorts. But I'll probably still take one, and I would put the stop inside of this value, above 21,100. Okay, because again, this is a composite and it's been untested. And I'll show you this on the candlestick charts. It looks basically like this, where this level down here was support. We've lost that level of support and we've not tested it as resistance, right? So when we do not, that's a high probability setup for a short, right? But like I said, there's contention points all the way up. There's anomalies, right? So we've got all of these naked value areas. We've got 2 points of control, and we've got single prints. So it could turn around at the single prints, or it could turn around at 21K. But the key thing is accepting above $20,300. So I hope that kind of makes sense, right? So again, we're kind of still rotational inside of here. Let's just see what happens. I'm looking closely at this $20,260. 20,255 or whatever it is, right? I'm looking closely at that. If we accept above it, then I might enter a long position targeting 21K. If we get rejected here, then I'm going to enter a short, and I'm going to be targeting first around about $19,800, which is the bottom of the composite value. But I'm going to leave some on to target these triple bottoms. Okay, and that's basically it. So I've given you all the setups. I can just, I can't tell you if it's going to go up or if it's going to go down, but I can tell you what I'm looking at, and I hope this kind of helps, right? So, if we go lower first, then I'll have to look at this composite value area low, right? This is the contention point here. Will we take out these triple bottom first and then get rejected there? If so, that's an entry for a short, and I'll be targeting much lower. If we get accepted back inside it, then we're going to go back up, and we could potentially go all the way up to 21K, but we'll have to wait and see. But this one here is basically where we're at right now, right? So that's kind of like where we are right now, and that's basically what I'm looking in terms of the plays before the weekend. And again, with no non-farm payroll, we're likely to find volatility. So we're due volatility in the next sort of hour or so. Right, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I'm looking at the footprints as well. I'm trying to find where the absorption is, and I've marked out on my footprint here, as you can see here. I marked this green area that I've got inside of here is basically where that composite value area is, right, taken from the market profile. So you can see that basically here we've already got rejected. Are we going to go back below again? Or what? Are we actually just going to carry on hovering here? If we get accepted above this 200, 20,255, then we're going up to the next one, and the next composite value area is, like I said, here, right? So let me just take all of this crap off a second. So this is more similar to the candlestick chart. So then let me just illustrate this for you. Like I was saying, this here, well, you can argue that this is previous support, right, which is sitting at right about $20,900, right? But this is the composite value area low, right? If this was to be considered as support, we've not tested that yet. And, you know, support, when we lose it, the first tap on a previous level of support is likely to be resistance. So if the price accepts above here and goes all the way up to there, don't be thinking that we're going to the fucking moon, because this here is a great opportunity for a short position, right? And even if the short only plays out to go to here and we get rejected here, it doesn't matter. This is still a great trade, right? But potentially we could be accepted back inside of this and could be heading to new lows and take out this here. So it'd be silly not to take a decent short from up there, okay? There's perfect opportunity to take a short from up here, as that could be the last of the swing highs before we head much lower, okay? So that's basically just kind of like how I'm playing this. So I hope this kind of helps what I'm looking at. So in terms of context, like I said, we are above the monthly, just, you know, plenty of energy on that as we've just reclaimed the monthly VWAP. We are above the weekly VWAP, right? And we're looking at, if we actually rally from here, we're looking at 21k as that level of resistance. There's plenty of confluence here with the value of the long-term VWAPs, and also with the market profile and volume profiles. All right, so that's basically what I'm looking at. In terms of, I forgot to show you something actually on Exocharts. So in terms of levels of support, if we do indeed break down and we take out that triple bottom, let me just expand this a minute, right? So you can see where the triple bottom is, right? I'm looking at 19,378, and why? Because 19,378 is basically a value area low down here from way back in the 13th of July, and it's a naked value area low, right? That's not been tapped. As you can see, since that value area low has been printed, we've not tapped it yet. So that would be the perfect level to take out that triple bottom, right? And then bounce at 19,378, 19,400, something like that, right? Depending on the chart that you're looking at. Bouncing there and going all the way back up to 19,800. And then there we have to see what happens, right? Do we get accepted above 19,800, which basically means that we're going up, or do we get rejected here and this is a great entry for a short? If that's a short, I'm not going to be targeting, this is not naked anymore, I'll be targeting much lower prices, right? And we'll get to that, cross that bridge when we get to it. But I suppose we could look then, start looking at these values on the weekly, yearly VWAP here, which would mean that I'll be targeting this here, right about $15,000. Okay, so but again, that's too far away. You know, we trade level to level. I don't want to be sort of like, you know, giving you levels too far in advance. We just have to keep an eye on what's happening now. And like Howard said in the group, it's going to be a long weekend because it's Labor Day or whatever in the US. So we're likely to we could potentially see a scam pump over the weekend, right? Means less liquidity in the books means more volatility. So with that out of the way, let's move on to Ethereum. And I just want to show you here on Ethereum, on Coinbase anyway, how bullish this still looks, right? It's just ridiculous. We're still above the value area low of 2021, right? We bounced here on the value area low of 2022. We didn't even quite get there. We left a poor low there, but we bounced there and we still accepted inside prior value, right? So the value of 2021 and the value of 2022. Okay, so again, on the yearly, looks great. On the quarterly, very clearly, we lost that prior value there, right? Resistance, resistance, resistance. Here was still resistance, and then we reclaimed that, right? And since then, we've been above the current value. We got accepted back inside the value. We lost that quarterly VWAP, and now we've reclaimed it again. There's energy to this, right? There's not much selling going on, maybe because of the merge or whatever, but there's energy behind this, right? So again, we're inside the last quarter value, right? The contention point here is around about $19,800, right? And this will be, these two will be the next levels of resistance, around about $1,800 and 1980. So 1900, okay? 1800, 1900, next levels of resistance. If, however, we lose that quarterly VWAP, then we're likely to head way down here, around about $1,300. Okay, and I want you to remember that, $1,300. Okay, in fact, I want to show you here, I might as well show it to you here. $1,300 has perfect confluence with the edge of this high volume cluster. Look at that, way down here, $1,300, right? If I was to put a line there, it's perfectly lined up, right? We just do it again so you guys can see it clearly, perfectly lined up with that low volume node. There is a low volume node here around about $1,400 as well, which is basically where we bounced already, right here, right? That's basically this one here, but we could be heading lower if everything gets pushed lower with the S&P and Bitcoin, right? Now, if we have a massive pullback on S&P and on Bitcoin, then we could potentially go much lower than $1,300. And if we do, that means that we get acceptance inside of this high volume cluster. And again, we'll be rotational inside of this, right? And the bottom of this is just below $1,000. And that's where we'll be targeting to buy Ethereum, right? And you can see here, we had a sweep. So printed a low, sweep the lows, came back, confirmed that this is indeed support, right? Around about $980 or whatever it was. So that's basically where we're heading if we get accepted back inside of this, right? But again, level to level, this is too far ahead. We are above the quarterly and we are inside the yearly value. On the 4 hour, meaning the monthly VWAP, we are above the developing month VWAP. It's only a couple of days old, so not much importance to that. But as you will notice, we're inside prior month's value, right? And we managed to stay above it. Not only that, we are above July value area high. So we are basically staying above that, right? So the next contention point would be around about 1700, and then we've got that $1,850 there, right, on the monthly. But again, more importantly, what I'm saying is that it also looks bullish on the monthly. Let's have a look at the weekly VWAP on the 1 hour chart. Well, look at that. We got accepted back inside the prior value, prior weekly value, right? The only thing that's holding as resistance right now is the weekly VWAP close. It's held resistance here, here a couple of times, and that's basically where we are right now. We're hovering at resistance, and you know that the more we hover at one level, the more likely we are to break it. So if we break it to the upside, next level, around about $1,700, and then we've got that $1,780 and $1,900, which lines up perfectly with the month of August value area high, right? So you see how it starts building a picture here on all different time frames, just like I did on Bitcoin, right? So, you know, we're above the weekly, we're above the monthly, and we are above the quarterly VWAPs, right? The only VWAP that we are below is the yearly VWAP, but we're accepted inside of that prior value, right? So we'll just have to wait and see now what happens, right? So like I said, $1,900, right, which is the prior week's value area high, has perfect confluence with the value area high of the previous month and the quarterly. You can see that on the top chart here. Let me just sort of like correct that a second. See this level here that's been acting as resistance, right? It's sitting at around about 1975, 1980, and we've got just below that $1,800 there, right? And that $1,800 has confluence with the value area high of the monthly, right? Just above the other level has almost perfect confluence with $1,900, which is the previous week value area high. So you can see that that's basically the levels of resistance that we got ahead. Plenty of resistance. And in terms of support, then we're kind of pretty screwed. And if we do lose these levels here, $1,500 or whatever, then I think we're going to head much lower. And like I said, I'll be looking at around about this level here. Let me just take that thing off. I'm looking at the monthly view app here. We're looking at this level here, around about $1,340, okay, which has perfect confluence with the quarterly value area low, right, where that low volume node is, right, on this chart here on the quarterly. All right, so, you know, levels that line up for support, levels that line up for resistance. So I hope this kind of helps you guys. So again, we are at support right now. We're looking at $1,750, $1,800, and $1,900 for potential levels of resistance if we go up. If we go down and we lose $1,500, then I'm looking at $1,300 as a line in the sand. Get accepted below $1,300. If we do not bounce there, then we're heading back to below 1,000. Okay, and that's it for Ethereum. So I hope this was helpful. Let's have a look at what the market brings us. In about 15 minutes, we're going to have the NFP figures released. So I'm going to leave it here so I can try and trade this volatility. I hope this helped you, and I'll speak to you guys next week. Have a great weekend and trade smart. Bye-bye.